Facebook outrage, whistleblowers, Twitch hacks. Can we trust anybody? I've got all kinds of audio in my ear, and I'm trying to hope it will go away. But stick with us. Next. Welcome back to another fine episode of Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks. I am getting all kinds of audio in my ear, gentlemen. This is brutal. Brutal. Hang on 1 second.
Dave, no inner monologue, Altavia.
None. No inner monologue. Zero. This is bizarre. This may, in fact, be a StreamYard issue because I am getting everything, and I don't have anything else open. I'm getting everything.
Or are those the buds you usually use?
No, yeah. I'm gonna circle back, and you guys take it from here.
Let's,
because this is gonna drive me crazy.
All right, I'll remove you, and you can wave when you're ready.
Cool.
There we go.
So, welcome everybody. So don't mind the technical glitches. That's what happens when you go live. I am Marco Chiappetta. Dave just bowed out for a second. Chris, how you doing over there in mainland?
Doing good. Probably going to fall asleep at some point during the stream because I'm exhausted. No. But
it's too exciting of a stream. It's impossible to fall asleep.
If I stay awake, it will be a testament to just how exciting this stream is.
Or to my immense charm and positivity.
Well, what do you think carries the stream?
This is why we keep you around. You're a good kid, Chris. You're a good kid.
I know what to say around Italians.
There you go. Exactly. I just finished watching the Sopranos movie, so I'm like in super Italian mode. Although I didn't like the movie, but whatever. That's a different discussion. So as Dave mentioned, there was a ton going on this week. It's only Wednesday, and it seems like we've had a month's worth of news already hit between the huge Facebook outage across all of their properties, between the whistleblower that hit 60 Minutes, between the new the Twitch news that broke about the monstrous hack. I think basically all of their data leaked.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, like basically everything leaked from Twitch, and we had some fun stuff with Intel going on. It looks like we have Dave back. Dave, is the audio working properly?
We do, and that was the most bizarre thing in the world. I'm clean now. I can hear everything just once. I was hearing everything many times over in my head, and I'm not even schizophrenic, I swear. Or am I? Anyways, but yeah, no, the wireless buds I was using just freaked out, and I was getting double everything, and all my windows are closed. It wasn't like there was a stream feedback. Bizarre. Gremlins everywhere, but we shall prevail.
Accidentally enabled audio loop back or something, yeah.
No, it's Windows and Bluetooth. Like I ended up, so my motherboard has Bluetooth built in, never works well with the buds. So I got one of those aptX strictly straight audio USB plugins, USB adapters, I mean, and they're only paired to these. These buds don't leave this room. They're just for the computer.
Yeah, I think I need to do that. I think I need that kind of setup because that was I could not control it. It was totally out of control. God dang it.
Totally out of control.
We're always out of control.
Like Chris's attitude.
And I'm not even drinking beer yet. Yeah.
So, I don't even have a drink. I forgot my water today.
But that's the way this week has gone. I mean, just absolute blowout after blowout weirdness going on, from Facebook getting its dirty laundry lit up on the airwaves and over 60 Minutes to going down hard, their entire infrastructure going down. Don't laugh too hard.
You can't
Marco.
say that word in front of Marco.
That phrase, Marco's twisted brain is kicking in.
Well, I didn't do anything.
Yeah, no, you didn't do nothing. No, so yeah, to Twitch getting lit up for a data breach now. It's like, okay, is this guy falling, and can we really trust these companies with our data? That's a rhetorical question, of course. We can't. Let's be real. You have to be good stewards of your own data. But let's talk about all this fun stuff, shall we?
Let's do it. Yeah, man. We should, because it's been pretty crazy few days.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So let's start at the top with wow, we've got some Twitch folks joining us, which is great to see. Good to see you. Welcome. Let's talk about the first one on the top of the list here, gentlemen. Facebook whistleblower Bombshell SEC suit Facebook whistleblower drops bombshell and SEC suit alleging culture of profit over user safety. That was our headline. That's how we sort of condensed this situation. And yeah, it's she seemed, I will say my initial reaction with this, and I know you guys have some reactions, and certainly as this unfolds in the hearings for this, there's lots of new sort of opinions that are forming along the way. This is an evolving thing for sure. But my initial reaction was this woman comes off pretty credible. Okay. Very well informed. She was an employee at Facebook. They called her a product manager, but she was on, for lack of better terms, I'm going to say the corporate governance team, which is, just really making sure your sort of policy kind of stuff that makes sure your systems and the way you operate, that you're a good citizen. And so really in the mix with Facebook's just good citizenship kind of stuff, activities that they need to control, hate speech, control, improper use of their platforms, any sort of divisive stuff. They're, are we doing good for the community? That kind of position, that kind of role in the company. Very well informed, interesting to hear her recount of, and the fact that she took away thousands of pages of documents of testimony, or evidence rather, for her testimony, that talk about how basically Facebook's it's basically leaning on the algorithm more so, that they've created this engine that just goes for engagement and dwell time and clicks, rather than above all else, and sort of user be damned, whatever, user health be damned, I should say. So really a damning claim, and lots of accusations, and we're hearing more about it. She's definitely seems to have some political sway in her approach as well. I will say that, and we'll dig into that. But what were your thoughts here, guys? And let's just dive right in and start with that one. We know Facebook certainly has an issue with this. It's been proven. Zuckerberg's come out and made a statement as well, big long diatribe on Facebook itself, saying they have some of the best tiger teams in the world to control this kind of harmful content, and they invest more than anybody. It's unprecedented the amount of resources they put into this. Sounds a lot like rhetoric to me, but you'd expect them to defend the company and its policies and its approach to controlling this kind of bad behavior and bad content and harmful content. Anyways, let's unwrap it. Let's dig in a little bit and go from there.
Sure. So I'll get to my thoughts on the actual whistleblower as I've learned more the last couple of days. All of us over the last couple of years, like especially through an election cycle, if you spend a lot of time on Facebook, what it can do to your mental state, right? It's very easy to get stressed out, to get into useless arguments. It's not the best thing for a lot of people, right? Social media in general. On top of that, we've all probably seen, there was a really damning documentary, The Social Dilemma, right? That there were independent studies that showed tons of detrimental effects to kids, and what's the right way to phrase it? Not just to kids, but to impressionable people on social media. They're very very open,
formative years
coming from posts on social media.
Mm-hmm.
So what the whistleblower is saying, I kind of totally buy it. I totally buy that the algorithms are tuned to keep the business strong. They're not tuned for people's mental health, right? In my opinion. What do I know? I don't know exactly what the algorithms do. We're speculating. But if I had to answer to stockholders, I'm going to tune my algos to help the business, right? Seems obvious. So I believe what the whistleblower is saying. I'm fairly confident. I'm going to back up. I made a prediction, right? When all of the social media platforms banned Trump, that whatever administration came in, they were going to come after the social media platforms because they wield too much power, right? When you can silence the leader of the free world, right, you have too much power. So this sort of sets the stage to heavily regulate social media. And I'm wondering if somewhere in the background, that's the real motivation, right? As we learn more about the whistleblower, there's lots of shady stuff coming out. So I don't know. Facebook's a cesspool. Most of social media is a cesspool. I buy what she's saying. It's not good for most people. What comes of it is probably going to be even worse, though.
If any of what she said was revolutionary to you, I want to wonder where you've been the past decade. Companies are chasing profits. Social media is bad. People can say whatever they want. And really, as long as we have the First Amendment, it kind of should be that way. People take it to extremes to hide behind anonymity and, harass people. I think a better move is maybe to give users better tools to manage blocks and all that themselves, and just take because what these trolls are after is getting that rise out of you, getting you to react and to see you upset and this and that. And a healthier option is just, okay, walk away.
Right.
And eventually they will run out of gas, but people like to argue and they like to bicker about things. And the best thing you can do is to just not comment on social media basically ever. Life is a lot better that way.
Well, I think those are some extreme views, by the way, gentlemen. There's always a little balance we need to inject. The truth, certainly in this situation, I think, as I said in a post I made on Facebook, I think the truth somewhere lies in the middle for this, whistleblower situation, her claims versus reality and all this stuff. I think it's a little bit of a reach to say it's a cesspool, Marco, all the time. It certainly
it's
can
so
be.
bad. It's not all bad, right? I take that back. I'm being dramatic. Facebook is a hugely valuable tool, especially for people like us. I feel like I can stay in contact with people that I would have lost a connection with many years ago, and in that way, it's phenomenal. Like it's so great in that regard. But it's so, because of the algorithm and because of the way data is presented to users, right? They're showing you what you're most likely to either engage with or view the most. It's not just about the comments. You're timed in how long posts are in your viewport.
Right.
So you start to see things along a certain vein. And I'm the type of user, right? I'm an Italian. I have opinions. I want to argue with everybody. I love to debate. So I'll hit a post.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, no, I'll write a comment and I will delete it because I'm like, I don't have the energy to continue this debate once I hit enter. And I think that my behavior in combination with their algorithm presents me with crap I really don't like a lot on Facebook. And it's a combination of me and the algo, but the fact that you can game it in that way or affect it in that way kind of goes hand in hand with what this whistleblower is saying.
Well, I think it's worse than that. I could scroll through Facebook for 3 hours and not learn a single new thing about anyone I know on there because I don't see posts. They're not on my feed unless they're attached to a article or a picture. That's all that Facebook shows in the feed.
Yeah.
You don't get any personal updates or anything like that coming through.
So the way I look at this,
there's no point.
I'm gonna temper this a little bit, and I hear you, Chris. That obviously, Marco, as you pointed out, and we have our own digital platform here at hothardware.com where we run our own website, and we know how some of the sausage is made at a very high level. We run Google Ad Manager, and Google really knows how ads are targeted and all that good stuff. We enable it, and we have some control, but not a lot, very little. Anyways, So we're a little bit expert on the way these algorithms work. Not, have a little bit more insight perhaps than the average Joe, I would say. And you're right. It's keyed on what they call dwell time. The more you dwell on something, and they know that, as you noted, Marco, the viewport is in active view or not. The more they're going to trigger that kind of content, because that keeps you on the property, that keeps you logged in. That's kind of the base level, I think, of the way, in generally speaking, how these things work across lots of platforms, not just Facebook. And I think what this all boils down to is we have unprecedented, I hate that word, we use it way too much. We have new amazing power that we haven't had before, and connectivity that we haven't had before ever in our lifetimes with these platforms. And with that power comes huge responsibility. You're laughing, you're chuckling, and I'm wondering why.
Spider-Man.
It comes huge responsibility, Spider-Man. And I think it all comes down to making sure there is governance in place to control it better, because it should be able to be utilized for the good aspects, and the crap should be able to be weeded out. Now, I'll give you an example. You look at what's going on in the European Union for GDPR, which is data privacy. The data privacy acts in general across the globe. You need to be able to, and I think I don't know if it was you, Marco, or Chris, you mentioned having control over your data and what you're exposed to, and what you put out, what you allow these platforms to harvest from you. That's the key right there. If you give more knobs and dials that are, I'm not talking drilling down into some settings menu that's like, 8 pages deep, and let me find that radio button to flip that I didn't know existed. I'm talking about much more transparent, surfaceable control that's built into the platform for the user. If you start bringing those hooks and controls in properly, allow a little bit more, just control and ownership for the user, versus having these companies own everything and unbridled control and power over their platform, then I think you start moving in the right direction. But yeah, it takes oversight. It takes discussions like this. It takes people going to court, lawsuits, fun stuff like that, because we've never had this kind of power before.
See, this is two different discussions, right? What they do with your data is one thing, and what they allow people to see is another thing.
Yep.
Like I mean, I'm not going to get political, right? But just to give some background, I probably lean to the right on like fiscal issues and lean to the left on like social issues and things like that, right? I'm not like shooting my own horn or anything. I love to learn, right? So if I don't feel educated on a topic, no matter what it is, right, I want to learn about it. So I'm open to seeing all these different posts from all these different people. But what the algorithms do is kind of create your own little echo chamber, because it's going to present you the stuff that you engage with the most. And what you end up seeing is things that either just boost your own belief system or are completely the opposite of your belief system. And it's either way is bad for you. I would much rather, because where this is going is more policing of content on Facebook, right? Mm-hmm. This whistleblower wants, government oversight and ultimately the ability to censor misinformation, who says what the misinformation is, right? That's the other slippery slope. Mm-hmm. And I would much rather, be able to control my feed myself. Show me everything. Show me everything from all of my friends. If I don't like what I'm seeing, or I think somebody's nuts, I can report them. I can take them off my feed. Fine. For the ads, you got to make money. You got to keep the lights on. We make our living online, right? So I understand that business, and you have to be open to it. If you want to use the service for free, you're going to get some ads, period, right? So use your intelligence to present me relevant ads and relevant things that I may want to engage with. But in terms of the information and what I see and what I do with it, show me everything. Let me curate my own feed.
And
Yeah.
even within Facebook's world, I find Instagram is infinitely more engaging than Facebook is. And it's a lot because when I pull up my feed, I see the posts in order. I can scroll through and see every post that everyone I follow has posted until I get to the end and it tells me I've seen all the posts in the last 3 days or whatever. Then
Yeah.
it starts to show me recommended stuff, and some of that's take it or leave it. But at least for the stuff I choose to follow, it's there and I can see it, which is how Facebook used to be in the way back when, before they went to their fully algorithm tailored news feed. And I prefer that. It's like when I go to YouTube, I don't ever look at the homepage or the trending page. I look at my subscriptions page. And sometimes if I'm watching a video and there's a recommended video on the side, I'll go to it. But if I go look at the trending stuff, I don't recognize or care about anything on there. And I watch a lot of YouTube. It should know a lot of my interests, and it just doesn't have it down.
Yeah. There needs to be better systems in place. I'm with you, Marco, as well, in terms of your political position. I guess I'm a little bit somewhere moderate in the middle. I get twitchy about government oversight. I don't think I think government oversight in business can screw things up. When they talk about breaking up Facebook, I don't know. I mean, really? We can't, is having Instagram and Facebook two powerful platforms too much for one company? No, you can bring an Instagram competitor on and the market can take care of that. But when it comes to harmful aspects like this, and the dynamics of that and end user health, mental health or whatever, yeah, that's when you need proper laws in place that doesn't let certain things happen the way they do. And we should have a voting voice, ideally, not some fat cat on the hill politician.
I don't want to insult the generation, right? But my fear, right, if you start blocking and removing or obfuscating less than comfortable information for some audiences, right, and you don't get, it's not that you need to be desensitized to it, but if you don't get exposed to the realities of the freaking world, you will not be prepared to handle those realities later, right? So, and I don't know a lot of things that, in my opinion, that the government does a great job at. And telling me what to think or what I can see is probably what they'd be really bad at, because that is going to sway with whatever administration is in power at that point in time.
Right.
So,
you need to think of tools not just in how you will use them, but when your opposition comes into power, how they will use them.
Exactly. So I don't know. I have 2 little girls. I need to protect my little girls. I don't want them exposed to crazy crap on social media. They're not on social media yet, right? They're too young. But when the time comes, I really, as a dad, I want tools available to protect them. But as a, psycho American who, if I have the means, I want to buy a tank. I should be able to go buy a tank. If I create a freaking business that, in my garage that gets so freaking huge, you shouldn't be able to tell me to break it up. You know what I'm saying? That's right. How things, in some of the things in my head work. So but you got to find the balance. And that's the difficult part. And that's where it's going to be very difficult to pull off with such a diverse, billions of people and a user group on there.
Well, I think that the government is less dangerous in when they want to break up businesses and more dangerous in when they prop up businesses that have no business being in business anymore.
Right.
Yeah, we could go down this rabbit hole for a deep conversation for sure. James says hi, by the way, Marco. He wants to get into your tank buying thing.
You gotta subscribe to the Patreon to get access to that kind of information.
Exactly. But I think the bottom line is, it seems like this is, at least whether or not she obviously has an axe to grind and an agenda. And what that full agenda is, we may never know, but at least this is spurring some healthy conversation. You and I are talking about this now, and people all over the world. And that's the thing. I also made a short post on Facebook about this. And part of my post was, as you alluded to earlier, Marco, put yourself in the know. Don't just be a user of, that's like the overriding thing. Don't just be a user of these platforms. Understand how they work. If you're going to put your stuff out there, it's on you to know what you're putting it on. And so that's key too. I mean, it's not just, we can't just all say, oh, Facebook's evil and, you know, they suck and they're bad and, you know, but we're still using them and we don't know how they really work and I don't care, and complain about it. You got to dig in yourself, right?
See, I want to agree with you, but then you have but then you have half of your friends list taking a poll to see what kind of potato they are. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't understand what they're doing, giving away their information on those polls or their dumb games. You know, like,
I hear you.
That's where things get nuts, because yes, you can trust some people to do the right thing, but you can't trust all of the people to do the right thing.
Right, and you can't.
Some natural selection in there too.
There's some natural selection. Oh boy, you can't expect all of them. I mean, you know, honestly, my mother was on Facebook a little bit. She set up a page. I helped her set up a page. She didn't like it for a lot of these aspects. She didn't like it because she didn't understand where this stuff was coming from, why some of her friends, quite frankly, were a little crazy and she was seeing it all the time, you know, and she backed away. And but that's the kind of thing, like, at least, hopefully this will wake some people up. That's what I meant. This exposure is good. It will hopefully wake some people up to take a little ownership themselves and look into it. That's what they should, you know, everybody should try and look into this stuff, you know.
That's why I prefer research. I prefer reasonably anonymized social media where you don't really know who you're talking to.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave, you just triggered me, right? I'm going to bring this up. I don't care what people think of me, right? So Dave,
we should move on too, but go ahead.
Yeah, we will. You know, you said tell people do your research, right? One of the things that has been driving me insane on Facebook lately is all of these memes that people sharing about don't do your research, you know, don't mistake your Google, you know, search for my, you know, for my degree, or don't trust the experts that spent X amount of time. And I'm like, what are you supposed to do if you're not educated on the topic? Just not look into it. Just, I don't know, just stay dumb.
You just trust what the government tells you.
Or whatever, whoever's saying, just don't look into anything at all and just stay dumb. Like, that's what those memes are doing. They're telling people,
right,
don't look into anything.
When we write product reviews, because we're the experts on these products, you know, people are legally obligated to buy them because we said it's a good product. That's how it works, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, all right. Moving on. You know, I don't know if we can bottom line this thing at all, except pay attention to this, right? And yeah, watch the, you know, listen to the hearings, read the sound bites from multiple different sources, not just one slanted, whatever political source, and just pay attention. Because it's, I mean, we're in crazy times. We're in times where, folks, there's a lot of power getting wielded around. And, you know, it just goes to show you got to pay attention, because crazy stuff happens. And here's a perfect example of that. I am dropping a link into the chat. and this was too coincidental. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp go down hard, and possible whistleblower DDoS backlash. That was our headline. We thought to ourselves that 60 Minutes thing was too damning. Some, you know, really crafty, dark, you know, web people decided to rip into Mr. Zuckerberg and team and take him off the net. Probably, you know, it was a theory. That's why we put possible in there. But as this story evolved, it became even more bizarre. And it was the fact that Facebook at least claims there was some sort of BGP, Border Gateway Protocol, BGP router misconfiguration. BGP routers are edge routers that sort of distribute pathways amongst servers on the internet, and their key infrastructure for sure. That's kind of the layman's description. At any rate, there was one misconfiguration that propagated throughout their network, and it took everything offline. Millions of feet of data center offline in multiple locations around the world. This is a huge company that has 60% of the internet on it. on its platform. Okay, huge traffic. They have to be redundant. They have to be disaggregated. They have to be spread planet and nationwide. Otherwise, they can't host that kind of volume. You can't tell me some dumb network engineer propagated a bad, firmware or whatever, and everything went lights out all at once and didn't come up all day long. I'm not buying it. Now, Marco, what do you think?
So, you can obviously a botched update to the routers can take everything offline, right? That's obvious. Like you can obviously take it offline.
One location, yeah.
Totally. That's like kind of where I'm going.
Yep.
But the moment you would think the moment you make that mistake, I mean, a site like ours, we screw something up. You watch the meter fall. You could see the active users just fall off when you screw something up. And they can obviously see that too, right? So they would have known immediately, we made this change. Whoops, something's wrong, right? We need to fix it. But if the story is to be believed, they made this change and then they lost physical access as well. And across 18 plus campuses, there was nobody there to handle these things. And the way some of this, it's rumor, it's not all true, but we're talking the New York Times and some big outlets reporting on, part of the long delay was lack of physical access to fix this issue. And, they had to jump through hoops to get in. And some folks made it sound like, well, you took down all the data centers, right? The communications between all the data centers were down, and that's what limited physical access. But that's not really how that works in office buildings in the US. Like, I'm sure there's, inter communications between the data centers, but you got to be able to get in the freaking buildings, right? If the data center in Colorado goes down, you can still get into the New York building, so it just doesn't make sense that all of this kind of cascade happened to bring down every property because some network dork uploaded the wrong settings for the router.
Depends how it's architected.
Yeah, but like you would think, right? So these were acquisitions. Facebook didn't build Instagram. They didn't build WhatsApp. They didn't build Oculus, right? So to have it so tightly integrated where one set of updates took it all down, maybe I'm wrong. I guess just don't buy it.
So again, if we get back to what makes a website run, the core content, the core functions of it really tend to be pretty simple. It's the analytics and all the stuff that builds on in the background that you don't see is what tends to make these so complex. So I don't think it would be out of the question in however many years it's been since they've acquired Instagram, since they've acquired WhatsApp, that the core service would have been fairly simple and they could totally bring that in and just spend time building all their outside analytics on top of it. In which case, a lot of that would be tied in together across platforms and things like that. But
all right, so
again, I wouldn't expect that any of the systems at Facebook are that well siloed just by the nature and complexity of it.
There were some reports, and I agree with you, Chris. I think it's a fascinating phenomenon. There were some reports early on that there was they were using hacksaws to get into these cages, to get into their servers, because they couldn't have physical access because the system, the key card system was also tied to the network infrastructure, and so all their key cards were dead too. It seems
work that way.
Yeah, it seems like a reach to me. But I'll give you an example. In the case of Hot Hardware's infrastructure right now, hothardware.com, we are on the Azure platform. We have failover redundancy. We happen to be in the North Central data center as our main hosting location for Azure. If that data center goes offline, Azure will instantly, within a minute, push our VMs live in the West Coast or the East Coast. Within 2 minutes, we'll flip over and be back up if that whole data center that we're in goes offline. You can't tell me they didn't have that kind of redundancy built in. And does one or two, BGP, boggles or whatever, bungles, cause many data centers to go dark? I don't get how that works. The other theory is, and this is certainly conspiracy theory, but an interesting thing to ponder, is that Mr. Zuckerberg probably staged this, themselves to show everybody how important Facebook and its apps are to us in society and what happens when they go dark.
Is that what they did in 2019 as well?
See, I don't buy that. Like I tend to.
That sounds far-fetched. Yeah.
Because that
timing
is totally backfire on you too. Like you show people that you can't rely on the services as well if you do something like that.
Right.
I don't know. The timing is what makes this super shady. So, a couple of the guys on the team were speculating perhaps it was an inside thing where once the revelations from the whistleblower came to light, some people inside Facebook with knowledge of how the infrastructure works knew which pin to pull to make all the dominoes go down, right? That seems like conspiracy theory. Yes. Plausible. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just, like you would, there's no, in my opinion, is it possible to replicate all of Facebook's data across all of their data centers? Probably not, right? There's just too much data with too many users. But there had to be some redundancy that would have kicked in, you would think, in the event of something like this. And to have that not happen and to take 6 hours to come back for something used by billions of people around the world, I don't know. Like the fact that billions of people, the fact that billions of people are using it is a testament to the complexity of the setup. Like we can't pretend it's, a handful of servers strategically placed. Like we're talking massive data centers across the world.
Right, but when you start screwing with DNS, the complexity of DNS alone on a good day, the time it takes to replicate out through all the servers around the world, the name servers and everything, like they could have had it fixed instantly, and it just took 6 hours to get the fix out there and replicated.
See, no, I
agree with that. Yeah,
that's true, right? But still, with people going nuts over this, the actual IP addresses were also, you could not hit the actual IP. So even if you were bypassing
server IPs,
yes, like you couldn't hit anything. And then I had some inside people working at Facebook that I was chatting with. They couldn't even do their work. Like nothing was working. Nothing for Facebook was working. And, the internal VPN wasn't working. Their internal tracking tools for the projects were not working. For every single thing to go down around the world,
I think it smacks of inside job as well, personally.
It may have been caused by an inside job, but I don't think it's so far-fetched to say that it's possible and something small could have that big of an outsized impact. Like you obviously build for as much redundancy as you can, but you can never fully eliminate, failure points, points of failure. You just can't.
Yeah. Interesting question by Tech Potato. Good to see you, Ian. What's a bigger outage, Facebook, Instagram, Oculus, or WhatsApp? That's a good question. I would say it's probably what? Facebook?
Depends on your business. Like if you're a drug dealer, it's WhatsApp. Wow.
I use WhatsApp. I don't deal drugs.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to be funny.
I know.
Not doing it well.
That's all right. It's all good. It's all good. No,
I don't trust WhatsApp because I haven't trusted Facebook. So
yeah, well, I mean, and then James made a very interesting comment, and this would fly in the face of the conspiracy theory that Zuck and team somehow staged this to show everybody, how painful it can be without them. 70 million people signed up for Telegram when WhatsApp went down. That's that kind of, you would think they would have thought that one through.
If you want to go to the ultimate conspiracy theory, it was friggin' karma. It was karma. The whistleblower comes out
and then dusted off the karma.
a routine update. And then karma went, zing, you sons of bitches.
I'll say, the times I think, oh, this will be fine, I can skip a precaution or two. Those are always the times that bite me.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah.
I years ago, I was doing tech support for a small group of people. And I was just a contractor. So you can't be on top of someone's environment every single day. So you would tell people, someone's got to check the backups every day. Someone's got to look at this every day.
Mhm.
And you hope people are doing it. And then when they get hit with ransomware and the backups are 3 months old, stuff hits the fan.
You were right. That's fine.
You know,
we can say I swear now and again. Yeah, no, absolutely. And Chris, you actually make a very good point, because I've had experience with DNS myself many times with hot hardware, and it does take time to propagate throughout the net. So you can see when DNS is involved, it's sometimes as much as 24 to 48 hours to fully propagate amongst all the hops globally from, get to A to B on the internet. It's just the way the domain name service works, DNS. But I will say this, when we've had DNS issues and we've switched, from hosting providers where we've had to point our DNS from one to another, it's a spotty kind of outage. You do get sometimes resolving, sometimes not resolving. You don't get nothing for 8 hours all day long.
Well, it depends on the level of change and how bad you've broken it, I suppose. And if you are complicating that with router misconfigurations that maybe have some level of automation in how they're building their routes and everything else, that you get, cascading failures as a result, that you then have to go back to a cold start. And a cold start's a lot more difficult to bring up than anything else.
Well, we shall see. It seems to me that if it was in fact, an infrastructure botch, that many people maybe at Facebook need to be fired, because that's inexcusable for a company this is a company that defines cloud data center infrastructure, is helping to define it because they have such demand and need to help it evolve. Somebody, if that really is, somebody messed up, it's inexcusable. You can't be so vulnerable that you don't have some method of failover.
Alternatively, you can bet that they won't make the same mistake again.
Maybe.
Well, you would hope. So we got Sanchez saying, "Bring MySpace back." You know who's sitting on a pile of money laughing his ass off today? MySpace Tom.
Yeah.
Everyone's first friend.
That's it.
Just wild stuff. It's we'll have to see how this all unfolds. And by the way, it seems like it looks like we're back now, but StreamYard was twitching about Twitch. So sorry if we dropped on Twitch there for a minute. The Twitch was having problems as well, gentlemen. So why don't we shift gears to that?
Sure.
And who knows if Mr. Zuckerberg will clean house on his infrastructure issues or his claimed infrastructure issues, or who knows if we'll see it again, if it's really not that. Well, the true stories are evolving. Interesting stuff. But Twitch source code, passwords, creator payouts, and more leaked in huge security data breach. This just went down, broke this morning, and holy God, a treasure trove of information that was released from certainly user credentials. Change your passwords, enable 2FA now, two-factor authentication now. We have it on our Twitch channel. We always have two-factor going for sure, so don't sweat that. But the entirety of Switch's source code is in this repository. I guess is it terabytes? No, 125 gigabyte torrent file. Excuse me. Yeah, 125 gig torrent file. So not that large. Creator payouts from 2019. Mobile, desktop, and console Twitch clients were exposed. Proprietary SDKs and internal AWS services used by Twitch. And let's see. Unreleased Steam competitor, codenamed Vapor, from Amazon Game Studios. Wow. Talk about ouchie wawa.
Like everything except like VODs leaked. If it's personal information, it basically leaked. It's crazy, and it's funny, like for our audience, it's probably affected every single person watching this, right? And if you use the same password on Twitch that you've used anywhere else, you got to go change all those too,
right?
So this one's hardcore.
And the comment about resetting your stream key, we use a unique stream key with every stream we do. That's just part of the system we use. So we cycle them regularly. But if you are someone who just plugs one stream key into OBS and that's it, definitely do reset that, because all someone needs is your stream key to stream to your channel. And they could stream any manner of content to get you banned or worse. So
yeah. No. Tech Potatoes asking, is that vapor with a Y? I don't know. We had it spelled vapor with an O, like that. But
yeah, I think I saw a couple different spellings floating around, which also makes me question it. But maybe internally they were still deciding on how to spell and market it if they wanted to go beyond the code name. But yeah, of course, vapor, steam, haha. And also the joke of it being vaporware and never surfaces. Well, I guess now it has, but not in operation.
It was probably Ian's preferred spelling, VAPOUR.
Yes, it's very English spelling, Ian. Yeah, interesting to also see the creator payouts as well, and streamer payouts. It's just nuts, and people outraged, saying we pay millions of dollars to these people just to scream at the camera and play video games.
Yes, and the same for people on the pitch or field or anything else. I mean, it's entertainment. Entertainment makes money. Doesn't produce a lot generally, but it will inspire production.
Yeah. No, and I think it's again, it's an example of how amazing and powerful some of these new platforms are. What we're doing today, like the technology has enabled for services like Twitch, is just it's far reaching and powerful. And if we're not more cognizant of things that can go awry like this, it's only going to get worse. And it's funny, this brings me back to the concept that I always think about. If there's one area that you're always going to be employed in tech, that is going to command huge value in dollars if you're inclined to be an engineer or even a coder or something like that, it's security. Yeah, we have a college guy, Nathan, that works on our team. I think he's a junior, Dakota State University. Great kid. He's been working with us. I call him a kid. He's a man. He's in his 20s. Anyways, he's a kid compared to me, that's for sure. He's in there. He's in security. He's training to be a security engineer, and he's going to be able to write his ticket, because it's only going to be more demand. We need better security technologies. I mean, clearly this demonstrates Amazon and some of the most powerful companies in the world don't have good enough security.
So before we were coming on for today, I was because we asked the question, is who can we trust, or is our data safe anywhere? The bottom line is, and I thoroughly believe this, right? If you're going to put something anywhere online, it's going to leak at some point, right? Nothing is completely secure. There's at least for now, there's always going to be a human element. So people are getting inside the networks, what have you. There's always an attack vector that can be exploited, no matter who or what the entity is, right? So if you don't want something online, don't put it online. That's really the only answer.
Air gap it.
Security is never about making a perfect solution, because if you had a perfectly secure solution, you'd have a useless black box that you couldn't do anything with. There has to be some way to interface with it, or it's useless. I mean, it's the business case situation is, how secure can we make our business while not making the act of doing business impossible? So you're weighing that against, then you have these attackers who are just kind of looking for any target that they can sink their teeth into, and all you can really do is make yourself as difficult enough to break into that it's not worth the effort, and they go find a different mark. But with enough time and attention, they'll get into any system. Doesn't matter. They will find a way.
Yeah. Here's a good comment by Ian. Yes, you're absolutely right, Ian. We're going to lose him when he gets his degree. Dang it! It's hard to hire engineers as journalists. They want to be paid like engineers. Yeah, he's gonna, like I said, he's gonna write his ticket as a security engineer.
We had Sanchez asking to show the payouts, and I think Chris pulled those up. You got to see some of these numbers.
I was debating about pulling them up because we are streaming to Twitch, and I don't know if Twitch is going to be twitchy about us showing these numbers on Twitch.
Hang on one second, too.
There is a link to the article in the chat above that Dave posted. So if you do want to see the numbers, you can go to the article. I just don't want to get us in trouble.
Yeah, I agree.
You're talking tens of millions for the almost
for some,
almost 10 million for the top guys. Like, there's many people making multiple millions yearly from Twitch, and that was 2019. Probably more now.
Let's take a step back real quick on the security aspect, just very quickly, and then we can come back to how they're making hay here. But I think it's possible in the future. I don't think anything's impossible when it comes to technology, within certain reasons. You have the laws of physics, but even those are getting defied these days. It's amazing. But I think when it comes to security, I think we will eventually evolve a security system that is so robust that things are pretty darn secure. And I'll give you an example. Intel, we talk to Intel labs all the time, Marco, right? We get briefed from them occasionally. They are working on something called homomorphic encryption. Sounds kind of crazy, right? Homomorphic encryption, basically, in a again, 10,000 foot layman's terms, is computing on data that remains encrypted. So you communicate data to another party, that party receives data encrypted. They can't decrypt it, but they can compute on it, change it, and update, incremental, whatever. You can compute on data in an encrypted state and never have to decrypt it. That kind of stuff. And it has to be built into the processor architecture, obviously, because you need specialized engines to do that. That kind of approach, that kind of technology, I think will bring us there someday.
So I want to jump back to this comment that Harry Mutt posted a while ago, asking why is Microsoft replacing Control-V in Edge and the implications thereof, that it is in fact intercepting what's on your clipboard to paste out. It'll put things like read more with a URL to where you copied it from, or things like that. And it is scary because you could be copying passwords. You could be copying, as he also said, your cryptocurrency keys or things like that are then being read through and processed and possibly analyzed. If you have synchronization enabled between your devices, maybe it's hitting servers between your devices to keep them in sync. It's little things that, like, it seems like a quality of life improvement, but it's really insidious in what it could do, and it's things to be aware of. And then you start going, okay, well, what do I do? Do we go back to a time with no search engines, no algorithm feeds? It's just a bunch of site link backs on the side of your website to go find some other websites that you're friendly with. Like, yeah, I see Dave shaking his head. Is there a way back? Is there a way out of this concerning nature of everything, watching everything, and you don't know who's watching other than it seems to be everyone? I don't know.
And going back to what Dave was just talking about, like, even no matter what level of encryption or how sophisticated you design a system, right? If there's a human involved, it's vulnerable. Period. Like, if you read any of Mitnick's books or follow any of the biggest hacks, it was usually like social engineering or the human element that was the initial, cause for the vulnerability. So, like,
that's why you need to encrypt everything.
Could we train an AI to encrypt and then decrypt data without knowing how it's performing the encryption and decryption? Could we do that with compression?
Yes. Yeah.
But even still, right? If there's a human that has access to any of it, it's vulnerable, right? So,
to a certain extent,
developer backdoors and everything else too.
Yeah, well, then we get into the whole kettle of fish. What should the government have access for safety? No, because any backdoor is exploitable. Yeah,
But there's just so many, like, just to go to the simplest thing, right? If there's any way to access something with their username and password, right? There's so many ways to gain that username and password. You can visually see somebody type something in, right? You could record the sound of keystrokes and then continually record that person until you learn which keys they're pressing. Like, I'm going to give you an example. I was writing, just for fun, I was writing a fiction novel that involved hacking, right? Now, imagine recording the sound of somebody's office, sending that person an email, right? You record them typing the response back, and now you have the auditory signatures for all of their keys. You can then figure out whatever that person is ever typing. You could have physical access to the network. You could install a keylogger. There's just so many ways to, exploit the human connection to data that there's really, I don't think there's anything you could do to make something completely secure.
Cracks me up. Shifting gears a little bit on your topic and back to algorithms. Tech potato types. Humans are the problem. Get rid of all humans, all of them. Right? That was waiting for approval in the comments. YouTube was like,
was it really?
YouTube is like, this guy wants to kill people.
Friggin' potatoes,
Literally, I had to approve it. Oh, yeah. Unbelievable.
And even if he doesn't have a microphone in the room for you, he could reverse engineer your speakers to act as microphones and collect it that way through malware.
Yeah. Oh, dude, like the spy tools that are out there, you can pick up the sound of keystrokes based on the vibrations on the glass in the office.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
It's nuts. It's nuts. Nuts.
It's a physical world. You just got to know how to interpret it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we need some more smart people to James. Yeah, good one.
Really, just don't ever do anything worthwhile with your life that would be worth taking. That's the takeaway.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And with that, we should probably think about wrapping up, but talk about a few things in the hopper. We'll take off
some of this stuff.
Take off our tinfoil hats and turbo through this. Do you want to talk this one here real quick? This is interesting. Intel lambasts. Intel trolls diehard Apple Mac users and makes them all want a new PC. Very interesting. We thought it was mostly well done, but basically they showed supposedly diehard Apple Mac users all of these cool features that are in current Windows Intel powered Windows laptops today, including things like 2-in-1 convertibles, touchscreens, all kinds of different customizable features to these PCs that you just can't get. And the Apple users in the room that they brought in for these panel discussions basically just fell over themselves and said, I want that now. And and then they opened the door and said, well, it's available now, and it's not an Apple product, it's a PC. Good marketing. Marco, what were your thoughts about the believability? And then we'll just touch on it real quick.
I didn't buy some of the act. They're supposedly real people, super diehard Apple. Some of them
not scripted.
Didn't come across particularly genuine to me. I'm not the biggest fan of Apple and all of the points that they made in terms of, some machines being customizable, the additional features that are available. They didn't really talk cost, but typically dollar for dollar PCs are a little more affordable. There's just a wider breadth of form factor. So I'm cool with the messages. It's with the messaging, just how it was delivered. I'm not sure. Some of the points you could really pick apart if you wanted to be devil's advocate. But I'm happy that Intel is going on the offensive. Whether you like this particular ad or not, you can easily debate it. But I want an aggressive Intel promoting the PC.
Gloves are off. They're not using core Intel processors anymore, so the gloves are clearly off.
And James is asking, did we catch the Main Gear cameo? I did. It flashed on the screen for a second, for sure.
Yeah, that was good stuff. Is it any better than the Mac versus PC rip?
The previous set of ads, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I like the other ones personally,
Yeah, hit that link and decide for yourself. It's a lot more in depth. It's like a 5-minute video. If you haven't seen it on YouTube, we have it embedded in that story, but same kind of slant as James notes. All right, interesting stuff. Let's move on real quick. Far Cry 6 performance review. I guess Farquaad. Lord Farquaad. Wow, that was good. Thanks for picking up on that, pal. Appreciate it. Far Cry 6 with ray tracing and FSR performance review. Bring on the eye candy, says Ben Funk. Great stuff. Actually, I believe it releases tomorrow. Does it? Yes.
I think tomorrow. Yeah.
We were allowed to go live with this today. Beautiful visuals. Game engine is just dialed. Ray tracing, some really cool ray tracing effects, and FSR on both AMD and NVIDIA hardware was tested, and really brings a nice performance lift. So check that out. Any comments before we move on to that?
Not so much about Far Cry, but speaking of AMD versus NVIDIA, the polls that we run on the side of the site, I thought it was very interesting. So we have one right now, FSR or DLSS for the win.
Split 50-50, yeah.
It is split 50-50 right now.
Yep.
So very interesting on that front, but I digress.
James,
how many votes? Yeah, 1,000 votes so far. Yeah.
Thanks for pointing that out, James. New depths of the Boston accent. No, that would be Far Cry. Far Cry, James. Friggin' Far Cry, actually. All right. So yeah, anyways, good stuff. Check it out. Ben Funk, as always, doing a great job showing the visuals and the performance for Far Cry 6. It should be an interesting game for sure. Always fun. Marco, you checked out a new bin of Intel's Tiger Lake, the 1195 G7 performance in this MSI Prestige 14 Evo laptop. Good stuff. A few more megahertz. Anything to say there before we kick it out the door?
Yeah, it's funny. So this machine, first of all, I really like this particular machine from MSI, but the 11. Oh, I have a visitor. You should not be interrupting Dad while he's working, Sophie.
Hello, Sophia.
So the 1195 G. Thank you, gorgeous. Is very interesting, right? Technically, it's the fastest of the mainstream quad-core Tiger Lakes in Intel's lineup. If you look at the specs, it should be faster across the board. But I think when you're pushing clocks as high as they are with the multi-threaded, with longer multi-threaded workloads, you can hit the throttle point faster than some of the other machines with perhaps, say, an 1185 G7. So it wasn't always faster in multi-threaded stuff, but for single and lightly threaded stuff, those higher clocks had a significant impact on, some of the benchmarks and in terms of the experience. Super fast machine. If you're not doing heavy rendering or whacking every core all the time and you want one of the fastest notebooks you can get in like a nice compact form factor that will not break the bank, like MSI is not charging an arm and a leg for these machines, especially if you wanted a more entry-level config. You can get them for $899. But yeah, this is a really nice notebook all around. Good battery life, good screen. Doesn't particularly have any one feature that blows any other notebook out of the water, but all around really nice, fast machine.
Decent value. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. And then Ben Funk checked out the iPhone 13 Pro as well. You should check out his review. Killer performance, solid sort of platform updates and upgrades from a performance standpoint. Still has that crazy ugly notch. I can't take my eyes away from that. I'm sorry. I just think it's jarring.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? I know we're running out of time. What the hell is his wallpaper? What is at the lower left of his screen over there?
I have no idea. I don't want
to. Nathan Pyle's Strange Planet. It's an alien.
Oh, okay, there you go.
It's a web. Cartoon.
Thanks, Chris. I know Marco's head was going right to the gutter.
Absolutely,
right to the gutter.
No question about it.
But he does say it's unfinished from a software standpoint. Lots of caveats there. Marco, I don't know if you want to comment on the caveats. I actually didn't dig too much into that one, but I'm not much of an Apple user either. So,
I don't. He pointed him out specifically, and I am drawing a blank right now. would probably never buy an iPhone, so I didn't absorb everything.
Still has a lightning port, so as you capture your nice ProRes video, it's going to take you 17 hours to take a clip off the phone.
Actually, you just reminded me, like that. You just reminded me of one of the features, right? The ProRes video was touted, but it's still not enabled yet. Like you still can't capture it yet. I believe that was one of the things that wasn't ready. And it also like features like waking up from an Apple Watch were still broken. I think that has since been fixed. But you know, just little stuff that it wouldn't have made it out the door if Steve Jobs was still at the helm.
There you go. And then the last one we'll drop in is this interesting one from the folks at ASUS, the Ryzen 5000 powered ZenBook 13 OLED. Love me some OLED. Good stuff right there.
This is a kick-ass machine, right? This is not that it's like the antithesis of the MSI machine, because it's not. It's still very fast single thread, but this is the thin and light that you might want to look at if you like small form factor notebooks but want an 8-core chip. That's a bad boy right there.
Yeah, good battery life.
Like one of the best that we've tested, right? The kicker is though, like we're doing the video rundown test for battery life. And that looks great with the 1080p OLED with the latest gen Ryzen. It looks phenomenal for that kind of test. If we were to do a battery rundown test, say with looping Cinebench, it would probably die pretty quick with 8 cores and a Vega GPU in there. So
yeah. 675 minutes. That's top of the chart, and it's an OLED display, which is surprising.
Phenomenal. Yeah, well, it's only 1080p.
Yeah, it's 1080p, but it's still it's way up top above a lot of other 1080ps that are at the top of our charts for that. So good stuff from the folks at ASUS and AMD Ryzen powered. I have something here that is Intel powered 11th gen Core i7, and this baby, oh man, let me see if I can. Here we go, back it in. This is from the folks at Alienware. I'm working on the review now. It's the Alienware X15. Talk about thin and light. This is a 15-inch machine. I don't know if you can get a sense for that, but really nicely designed, super compact. RTX 3080 in this thing, 5 pounds. Just
that looks
barely
like they took an M15 and put it under a hydraulic press.
And I mean, it's really sleek. I'm impressed so far. I'm doing a little bit more testing with it. Certainly can get a little bit loud because it needs to dissipate some heat in this thin chassis. And so fans got to kick up when you're gaming. But otherwise, it's pretty tame when you're not gaming. So really cool stuff. Alienware X15 on the test bench now. Stick around for my full review and video review on YouTube, hopefully shortly. So there. What do you think about that, fellas?
Cute.
And with that,
that wasn't under embargo, right? No. Some people already went with it. That's right.
No, okay. I would have been shot by the sentries as soon as I started, I'm sure. Yeah, no, that'll be going live shortly, and so stick around. I'm impressed. They're still doing some battery life testing, things like that, but good stuff from the folks at Alienware and Dell. Find us on the web at hothardware.com, youtube.com/hothardwarevids, twitter.com/hothardware. We're everywhere. Facebook too, when it's up and running. But hit the reminder bell, like and subscribe. We'd love to have you with us when we do go live. We try and hit Wednesdays at 5:30 when we can. Once in a while we get knocked off the rails on that with work, but usually we're here. And giveaways, we'll be doing a giveaway probably again shortly, so stick around for that. We usually try and get a system giveaway going almost every month. We're kind of taking a pause, but I think the holidays are going to be coming in quick here, and we'll be giving some toys away, right bud?
Absolutely.
Anything else to wish the viewers before we sign off?
Yeah, just come hit our Discord, because we're looking for input on some video stuff. We're probably going to make some changes on the site that we're going to want some input on. It's much easier to engage with everybody in the Discord and track conversations. So if you haven't, just come hang out, right? Come hang out with all the other geeks that are on the Discord. And other than that, I think you covered it all pretty good, Dave.
Yeah, man. I'm looking to put an invite link or a server link in there. Chris, I don't know if
we'll have to dig one out in the comments after, I guess.
Yeah. I thought I could do it.
I don't have one handy.
I used to have one handy, but I don't. Anyways, we'll get a server link out there in the comments. You can hit that and join our Discord server. There's 300-400 of your closest friends on there right now, so it could be fun. And with that, we will bid you adieu. Hit like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for stopping by.